The expectation for the Elden Ring DLC is that it's going to have really nice areas, amazing bosses, really cool weapons and spells, and probably some really nice looking armor sets as well. Now, the reason as to why that's going to be the expectation is because every other DLC before this one has pretty much had those exact same things. So it's probably going to be a given that we're going to get at least that much. For some other additional predictions that I do have, in terms of its release date, I think it's going to be released next year, probably around about February with the 2-year anniversary. It's definitely not going to clash with the Armored Core release date, so it's probably most likely going to get next year. As for how large it's going to be, my prediction is that it's going to be 2 Limgrave-sized areas. And they're going to be pretty dense and filled up Limgrave-sized areas as well. Probably going to have maybe 1 or 2 legacy dungeons in each. Probably going to have 3 main bosses in each area as well. Now, in terms of the first area, it's probably going to be what we see in the promo art. Probably stuff centered around Miklar and Godwin as well. But as for the second area, hear me out. Hear me out. For the second area, we're going to go to space. Yes, you heard me correct. We're going to space. We're probably going to fight the outer gods. You heard it here first. Guaranteed. Put a stamp on that bitch. But with that out of the way, let's just get into the video. As always, please do like and subscribe because I do have a bunch more videos coming along the way. And do follow me on Twitch because I should be live by the time this video is out. Probably going to be doing a challenge run as well. But yeah, let's get started. Now, the number one most important thing I want added to the DLC is a dedicated endgame PvE game mode. Exactly that. We just need one of them. We haven't had one before in any other Souls games. Maybe Sekiro, we did have some like a boss rush mode, and there was like an additional like gauntlet mode as well. That was actually kind of cool. So outside of that one, we didn't really have anything else. We needed a whole dedicated mode. Maybe have like some cool like tournament, like round robin type of thing. We fight waves of enemies, and like at the end of it, we fight a boss. And hopefully, with the rewards to those things, we probably end up getting things like ancient dragonstones and lava tears. I don't know why we don't have infinite amount of those, but we need an end game dedicated PvE game mode. Please, From Software, make it happen. It'd be so nice to actually just design our end game builds and actually have something to use for it instead of like, you know, the New Game Plus, which isn't really that fleshed out to begin with. And I don't really think they're going to do anything with the New Game Plus at all for this DLC. So an end game PvE game mode would definitely make up for it. Number 2, we definitely need more faith and intelligence options. We literally only have one weapon in the Sword of Night and Flame that does get a faith and intelligence scaling. Yeah, you can use things like the Clayman's Harpoon and the Erdtree dagger to actually have it with a different infusion, but that's not really going to be the most viable thing in the world. We definitely need a whole dedicated infusion that actually gives scalings to both faith and intelligence. That would be really nice. We definitely need a catalyst to actually cast both incantations and sorceries at the exact same time. That would be really cool. Maybe like a hybrid weapon. That would be nice. I don't really know. We need something. The spells themselves, they're pretty subpar at the moment. We definitely need more options in that regard also. So yeah, basically there's a bunch of new stuff just for faith and intelligence builds because they're kind of lacking at the moment. Number 3 change I would like to have is covenants. We need covenants in the game. I don't know why they haven't been put into the base game, but they definitely need to be added into the DLC. Now, if you don't know what a covenant is, basically in the other Souls games, they pretty much served as like actual like rewards for the PvP itself. So you pretty much had like this team that you pledged your allegiance to, and every single time, you know, you just represented that team itself when you actually did PvP, whether it be invasions or dueling. And when you got a kill, you got a certain type of covenant reward. You go back to that covenant and you can rank up, and with the ranking up, you can actually get rewards. That was a very cool concept. It made PvP actually like worthwhile to an extent. Now, obviously, you can farm for those items in PvE, which was very tedious in Dark Souls 3, might I add. However, if that is incorporated more of a way to actually make covenants probably work in PvE as well, whether it be through obviously co-op and online, if they actually integrated that a little bit more, that would be very nice. But covenants definitely need to be a thing because it definitely enhances the whole online experience itself. Now, the next thing I'd actually want to get added. Now, I do actually want a new weapon class. I really do. But before they do that, they definitely need to rework the flails. Like, the flails are a new weapon class in this franchise, but they pretty much work the exact same way as hammers. They have like the exact same movesets. They get the exact same poise values. They pretty much have very similar range and speed as well. I just don't understand. The only difference is that like the flails tend to get bleed and that like they can't be parried. I guess that's slightly different, I suppose, but they just need a whole rework. Their heavy attacks are just complete dog shit. You need to be able to like block and use it and fully charge it at the exact same time, infinitely charge it maybe, be able to walk around while using the heavy attack. Just do something, have a different unique light attack combo. The power stance is just completely egregious because it's identical to the hammers. It's so bad. I don't know why Spinning Chain is not an Ash of War that actually can be bought because it's such a unique weapon skill, but it's not an Ash of War. I don't understand that concept as well. But in terms of actual like weapon classes that need to be added into the game, please, Chain and Sickle. We need the Chain and Sickle. It's been how many games? FromSoft, please add the Chain and Sickle. Those little guys that wield it, I get so jealous. I farmed them for so long on my first playthrough, like when the game first came out, and I thought they were going to drop it, and it never happened, and I got so upset. Please, Chain and Sickle from Software. Now, number 5, I would actually give lightning and identity because it really doesn't have one at the moment. It's kind of half tied to dexterity, half tied to faith, and it's not really completely fleshed out. You definitely need a lightning art infusion, like you have a flame art infusion that scales with faith. If you get something like that, that would be really cool. Now, no, a lot of people end up saying, oh, just using the electrify armament buff, which does actually, scale of faith, obviously. But what if you want a power stance? What if you don't want to use a buff because you're not really comfortable because it only lasts a limited amount of time? It's not really the most viable thing in the world, so having a lightning art infusion would be very nice. And there's only like 5 lightning weapons in the entire game, and I think 2 of them need to use the weapon skills to actually gain the lightning. So we definitely need more lightning weapons themselves, and hopefully they actually end up getting faith scaling, because that would be really, really cool. Actually, while I'm speaking about it, we need a fire buff as well. A fire incantation buff, because we only have Black Flame Blade that only lasts 7 seconds. If you get a regular fire buff, that would also be very cool. Please, From Software. Number 6. Can holy damage please not be bad in the DLC? Like, it's terrible in the base game. Like, almost every single boss is resistant to holy. Please, there better not be a single boss in this DLC that's resistant to holy. Please, From Software. And I know there's probably going to be people are talking about how Godwin's going to be part of the DLC, and Deathblight might be a thing, so bosses might be weak to holy. But if it takes place before Godwin actually died, then there's no such thing as Deathblight. So I'm probably thinking that enemies are still going to be resistant to holy, which sucks ass. Also, while we're at it, please add Radigons and Morgoth's incantations. Please and thank you. Now, the last thing I would actually add to the DLC, probably actually thing I would change about the game itself, and that is actually having the status effects work in PvE. Now, specifically, I'm talking about Madness and Death. We definitely need more of those options, but we actually need them to actually work in PvE, at least to some capacity. Do you know how we have with Sleep? There's like 2 different versions of Sleep. We have like the lesser version where they just get staggered, and we have the other version where they get completely knocked out. If you have like similar versions to that where certain types of enemies just get like proc Madness, and then they can just get like staggered a little bit sometimes. They'll have like a lesser version depending on the enemy itself. Same thing with Death. Maybe against like smaller enemies that just get outright killed, but against like larger enemies that just get like staggered a bit or get debuffed in some capacity. They need to think of certain idea. I know it might take a little bit of effort because you have to create certain animations and actually add them to like certain types of enemies. So it's probably going to be a big thing, but that's probably something you can do with the DLC because it's pretty large. That would be very nice, but yes. Just having certain types of status effects work in PvE, it would definitely make for build creation a lot nicer. But yeah, that pretty much concludes it for this one. Just made this video so we can actually have some open discussion and talk about things that we'd actually like to get added, just in case From Software looks at this and gets some ideas and, add the things that the community does want, because I definitely do speak on behalf of the community. Anyway, as always, please do like and subscribe, and do follow me on Twitch as well. Should be live by the time this video is out. And yeah, see you in the next one, guys. Bye.